So, a very well known fact about me is that I have a bajillion of USB flash drives, and I mean it. Let me show you my little collection. So, what do we have over here? We have my main flash drive, which is a Toshiba 32GB USB 3.0 or something. This is my main flash drive, and yeah, basically. I have a little Kingston Data Traveler 16GB USB 2.0. I have another Philips 16GB USB 2.0, and I have a SanDisk 32GB 3.1, if I'm not mistaken. And how I was using them is that I was using the SanDisk for backup, so basically before I got my main secondary hard drive where I store all my data from the computer, I was using it as a backup method, but now I don't really use it anymore since I got like 2 or 3 1TB hard drives which I just clone and I can keep my files backed up. But yeah, this was really useful back then when I was distro hopping all the time, and right now I'm not really using it for anything. Yeah, and it doesn't really work. Like you can't really see this, but it's a little bit broken here because of the heat, because it was extremely hot every time I was plugging it in. It just got destroyed, and nowadays it just doesn't really get recognized on any computer, not only mine. So it just kinda sits here with some files here. I don't remember exactly what I have, but it just sits here on my little box with flash drives. Yeah, then I have my little Kingston Data Traveler which has Tails installed, and yeah, I know it's a USB 2.0 flash drive, but I have Tails installed, why, etc. Yeah, I don't know. It gets the job done, I guess. Then we have my little Philips one, which I was using for Clonezilla and some data transfers for like school stuff or family and all that. And then I obviously have my 32GB USB 3.0 Toshiba, which I love, amazing build quality. And I was using this for Fedora, and for any bootable medium I was using this. But it was a 32GB. Just having one ISO Fedora was a bit like, why get a 32GB? So I was searching for an alternative to have my bootable stuff there, and I was actually intrigued by Ventoy, and I started using Ventoy on this little flash drive. But it was taking ages trying to flash any ISO that I was pasting there, so I decided to abandon that idea and just stick to Fedora, and whenever I need to like format another computer or even mine, I can just erase this, burn the new ISO, do the job, come back and then reburn Fedora. But it was kind of a headache if I'm being honest with you. So that's why I actually started looking at flash drives, USB flash drives, to update my collection, because typically I get around like one flash drive a year, and I use all of them except for like the SanDisk that I showed you. So I went on the internet and I searched for just USB 3.0 flash drives. I want something to be fast and with heaps of storage, because I'm planning on using it for Ventoy, and so yeah, I want something quick and with at least 64GB of storage. So I went to eShop.gr, which is like the biggest eShop in Greece, and I searched for all flash drives, and that is where the issues started appearing. So I stumbled upon some Kingston flash drives, and I always thought that Kingston is an amazing brand especially for flash drives, and I found a USB 3.1 Gen 1 flash drive, 128 gigs, a little bit under 10 euros, and I was like, yeah, why not buy it? But then I checked the reviews and they were extremely bad. They were saying how it doesn't have the speeds of 3.1 Gen 1 and that it's more like a USB 2 and maybe even slower than that. So I'm like, okay, let's not get the Kingston one. So after a little bit more time of digging around, a couple of days, I found a Patriot USB 3.1 Gen 1 128GB, which is here. This is the box. Obviously I don't have the USB right now with me, I'm gonna explain that later. But what does it say here? It says that it's 3.2 Gen 1 and has a read speed of up to 128 megabytes per second, and yeah, advanced performance, and yeah, the name of the flash drive was Patriot Supersonic Rage Lite. So I bought it, obviously, I have it here, and I'm like, okay, let's plug it into the computer. So I plug it in, and the first thing I do is to format the drive to FAT32. I think it was already FAT32, so I did not reformat or anything, but I ran a benchmark using GNOME disks to just see the speeds that the flash drive had. So I ran the test, and after around 20 minutes or something, it finishes, and it reported average read of around 110, which is pretty close to the 120 that they advertise, and average write speeds of around 60 megabytes per second. And I'm like, amazing, perfect, I'm keeping it, amazing. So I download Ventoy, I reformat, and I'm copy-pasting some ISOs. I think I started with Fedora Workstation 37. And then I realized how only the copy of the ISO took over 10 minutes and it didn't even finish. It was around halfway done. And so I'm like, that's weird, this is like a 2 gigabyte ISO, why is it taking so long? And I take a look at the write rates, and they were a little bit under 30 megabytes per second. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not the speed that I got last time, but it's still pretty good. So I decided to just leave it out. I don't know, maybe it's just hot, which it wasn't really all that hot. I decided to leave it out, leave it for a day, come back. So I come back, I get the flash drive, I plug it in, and I run the benchmark again. And this time, after around an hour, it reported that the average write was 2.7 megabytes per second, and I'm like, why? So I continued copying some files, using it without Ventoy. I tried GPT, I tried BIOS, I tried Extended 4, FAT, NTFS, exFAT, everything. Nothing was bringing back the speed. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's actually broken or something. So I unplug it and I return it to an ISO point, as they call them. And I don't have an ISO point near me, so it was an interesting journey to reach one. So I arrive there, I give the USB, I explain the situation, and they were like, okay, we'll send you an email when we got the testing results back, and we will talk then. So I was expecting a refund probably, or just a replacement. So I go home, and then a couple of hours later I get an email saying that I can go and pick it up. So I go, I pick it up, it's the same flash drive, and say that they couldn't find any issue, the USB is working perfectly. It's not the speed that you would expect, but it's not that it's not working, it's working. So I return home and I'm like, that's weird. I started using it again, I gave it to my dad actually, that's why I don't have it here, and he has stopped using it because the write rates are under 1 megabyte per second right now. So I'm like, bummer. But let's find a different flash drive. I don't know, there are a bajillion of flash drives. So I open up Best Price this time, bestprice.gr, which basically lists all the options for purchasing certain items and the items. So I go there, I search for flash drives, and every single flash drive that I saw had one extremely bad issue. And that issue was speeds. Every single flash drive, which was 3.0 and up basically, had probably the worst write rates of all time. And everyone was reporting 5, 4, 3, 2 megabytes per second transfer rates, and I'm like, why does every single flash drive has this issue? And I have no idea. I researched it a bit. Maybe it has to do something with the fact that the economy is recessing or something. I don't know, maybe it has to do with the war in Ukraine or something. But every single flash drive, terrible performance. So I was giving up, and then I actually went to my dad, and I realized that he was using 2 flash drives, and they were both from the same company. And I take one actually, and I do a benchmark, and it gave me an average write speed of a little bit over 100 megabytes per second, and I'm like, what? Then I thought that the flash drive was over 5 years old at this point, so I just decided to not pursue it this much, but I wrote down the brand name, and that brand name was Silicon Power, which I'm sure you all know Silicon Power. I had no idea. Okay, no, I knew that it existed, but I just haven't really researched it. I didn't know that it's like a leading brand in technology. And so after a couple of weeks, I stumbled across the Blaze BO2, which the box is this one. You can't really see it. Yeah, it's this one. And I have the flash drive right here. It's like that. It's really great design. And this is the 64GB version, the exact same model that my dad has, just 5 years newer. Although the copyright here on the box says 2021, but okay. So yeah, it wasn't cheap. All the other flash drives were around 4, 5, 6 euros. This one was a little bit over 10. But I benchmarked it and my speeds were over 200 megabytes per second, and now I'm using it every single day. I'm burning ISOs, I'm using Ventoy, I'm copying other files that I want to transfer, and the average speeds are just a little bit behind the 100 megabytes per second mark. They're like typically 96 or something, but when it's like cold, it goes all the way up to 200, 210 or something. So yeah. And the build quality is pretty good actually. I really like the texture, and the cap, the lid is amazing. It's really sturdy. I think it's USB 3.2 Gen 1 again. And yeah, now there was a 128GB version, but because I was like, it's not gonna be fast or anything, I got the 64GB version. And yeah, so TLDR basically, USBs suck right now, and I only have one recommendation for you guys, and it's the Silicon Power Blaze BO2. I love it, and I think I'll go right back on that retail shop and just purchase another one of those while I still can, because they're truly amazing and I recommend them. And also they don't really get hot, because most USB flash drives get extremely hot after just a couple of minutes. This one I left it plugged in for like 5 hours, and when I tested it was just a little bit warm but not hot. So yeah, that was my little rant about USB flash drives, and I'll leave a link down in the description below from Best Price if you want to buy this exact USB flash drive. And maybe if I find it on like an Amazon or an eBay or whatever you guys use, I'll actually shop that link down there. It will be either in the description or a pinned comment or something. So yeah, so that's about it from me, and Merry Christmas everyone. It's the 28th of December right now, and yeah, that's it. Probably the last video of 2022. Yeah, have a good one. Peace out.